Have you ever worked for someone who didn't care about you? I mean, really didn't care. Like they didn't acknowledge you, didn't seem to be worried about your strengths or what you brought to the team. They didn't care about your values. They certainly didn't care about your personal life. I have. It sucked. If you have, you know that the opposite kind of leader is the leader that you want to work for, and I hope the leader you want to be. Hey, my dear, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer, author of best-selling book, Mastering Confidence. Today, we are unpacking the virtues of humanity. So welcome to the training room. This is bite-sized training for busy women leaders who want to lead with confidence. Because what I know is most of us spend our days running around chasing fires and never getting to the stuff that we want. And at some point, we hit this place in our career where we literally feel in over our heads. And we're wondering, do I even have what it takes to lead in this organization or anywhere? And that lack of confidence starts to pull us down. So what I do is I give you both the inner and outer tools to help you restore that lost confidence so you, my dear, can move from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and your life. Today, we are on week 3 of unpacking the virtues associated with the character strengths in the VIA, Virtues in Action Signature Strengths Test. Now, before we get into it, I'm going to pop on over and share this into my Confident Women Leaders group. All of the links that I talk about today are up in the notes. So if you need anything, pop up into the notes and see. And I'm not finding it. Am I in the right spot? Yes, I am. Hold on a second. Just got to find the link to share. There we are. There's Kathy. Share to a group. Confident Women Leaders group. Share. Okay, so I seen something new on Facebook today when I logged in, and it said there's a poll. So I entered the poll. Make sure you answer it. What I want to know is, okay, it's there. It says, have you done your signature strengths test? So go answer the poll. Let me know if you've actually done it or not. So let me back up. There are a couple things that we look for when we start to develop leaders. Primarily, though, what we're focused on is competencies. We're focused on the skills that we need to lead. And so we do a lot of training around that. We do a lot of talking about that. We do a lot of developing around that. How do you read a budget? How do you run a meeting? Here's what you need to do strategic planning. This is how you schedule teams into the shifts that are there. You know, all of those skills are important. They're extremely important. So we focus on skill development, the competencies in leaders. But what we often miss is the character piece. It's not, the meeting that you run. It's how do you run that meeting. It's not the conversation that you have, but how do you make somebody feel as a result of conversation? That's character. So we've been talking about this for several weeks now. Those of you who've been following along, give me a thumbs up if you've been following along. If you watched all of the character development interviews that I did a couple of weeks ago, we've been really unpacking this whole thing about character. Hey, Tina, great to see you. And what we've been doing is we've been going through the Virtues in Action character strengths. So let me tell you about it. It's a quick assessment that you can go do. Takes like 5 minutes max to do. It outlines 24 character traits divided into 7 virtues. And what it does is it identifies your top 3 or 5, and it puts all of your strengths or your traits in order, but it identifies your top ones. And here's what happens. When we start to use those strengths more, not only are we a better leader, but we feel way better at work and in the rest of our lives. And it's important to start looking at that because it's not something we focused on. We focused on what we need to do, but not who we need to be. So the first week, and if you haven't watched these, you can pop back in and I'll share the links that you can go watch this. The first week, we talked about all of the virtues around wisdom. that love of learning and curiosity and creativity, helping us start to create more knowledge around things. Not last week, the week before, maybe it's been 2 weeks now, we talked about courage, that bravery piece, that perseverance piece. We need to have those traits that get us through during the tough times and stick it out to the end. Those are important. Today, we're unpacking humanity. Humanity is all about genuine, caring relationships with others. These are the interpersonal strengths. What happens in leadership is there's this kind of balance between task and people that we have. There are crap loads of things we need to do in any given day. There are meetings we have to go to and emails we have to send and conversations we have to have. And it's like tick, 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 get this done, do this, go there, over here, back there, down here. And that's what we are. We're like robot leaders. And we miss the human side of it. We miss this sort of conversation with another person. Rather than a transactional thing, I need you to do this, thank you very much, over here, over there. We miss the piece that says, hey, how you doing? I need you to do this. How does that fit into your schedule today? That's the humanity piece. That's that genuine care and connection. And that's what I asked you at the very beginning of the conversation, if you've missed it. Have you ever had one of those leaders who didn't care about you? Put a note in the chat box if you have. What did that make you feel like when you had a leader who didn't care? I used to have this boss who would give me this smile at the end of a visit. He'd come to my office and visit me. And I knew it was like he knew he was supposed to do it. It did not feel genuine. I hate having a conversation with someone when the smile is plastered on their face and yet their mind is looking behind you at the rest of the things they need to do. They're waiting for you to finish what you're saying so they can move on to the next thing. That feels like crap. And when we do that to the people that we supervise, when we do that to the people that we manage, when we do that to people around us, they feel like crap. We need to cultivate these character traits that help us be more humanitarian in our leadership. I don't know if that was the right form of the word. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 character traits. All right, did you put a note in the chat box? Did you tell me if you've, sorry, guys, I just realized my power bar isn't on as I disappear. I don't want my computer to die in the middle of this. That would not be good. Okay, so humanity, again, it's the interpersonal strengths that manifest good, genuine, caring relationships. And think about that. Think about a workplace where nobody cares about each other, and think about a workplace where people genuinely care and there's warm, caring relationships. Which do you want to be a part of? Which do you want to lead? Which do you want to engage in? And which of those organizations would you likely feel motivated to maybe go the extra mile, work a little harder, take risks, step out of your comfort zone, right? You would want to do that in a genuine, caring environment. You have the ability to impact that, whether you are the top boss or the top dog or the big head honcho, whatever, wherever your place is in your org structure, you have the ability to impact your environment and create genuine, caring relationships. So there's 3 character traits associated with this. Let me flip pages here. The first one is love. And I know that our automatic reaction is love does not belong in the workplace. Think about love slightly different. Think about it again as that genuine, caring relationship. And so it's about valuing close relationships. Have you ever had a situation at work where you've had a close relationship? That's a form of love. It's not romantic love. It's not family love, but it's a form of sort of that loving kindness feeling. And that's what we're talking about here. So there's 3 ways I'm going to give you to develop these relationships. Listen carefully to a colleague who's had a bad day. You know, somebody comes in at the end of the day, or you run across somebody at lunchtime or a coffee break or in the middle of their day, and they look like their day is from hell, right? Just stop for a moment and say, hey, how you doing? Looks like you're having a rough day. That's that love trait that we're talking about here. Think of it as compassion, if that's an easier word for you to think of in the workplace. But it's about sort of saying to somebody, hey, looks like you're having a bad day. Want to vent? Want to talk about it? Need anything to share? Anything I can do to help? Ask someone to show you their work. That genuine interest, especially if you are a supervisor or manager and you have people below you doing stuff, we often kind of just assume they're doing their thing and we just kind of brush them aside. But for you to genuinely stop and show interest in their work, not checking it out like you're marking them or grading them or evaluating them, not overseeing it like you've got your nose in it and you're going to tell them how to do their job, micromanaging, but genuine interest. Hey, tell me about that. How's that working for you? Tell me how you do that. And then one other way to say, to practice love is to say, you know, I forgive you. How many times in a workplace have we been like, railroaded by someone, somebody said something that hurt us, something's thrown us off. And sometimes what we just need to do is practice that caring relationship, saying, you know what, I get that sometimes we have bad days, and maybe, you know, you didn't mean that. Maybe it wasn't a good day for you. And you know what, I forgive you. We're just going to walk away and let it go. That's love. So it's empathy, it's tolerance, it's forgiveness. Here's one of the things is love, when we practice it and hone this character trait and do it well, it's correlated with less stress in our lives. When you spend more time in those kind of relationships where there's that genuine warmth, you have less stress in your life. So that's something to really consider. Second one, kindness. So we're talking about the virtues of humanity, the 3 character traits associated with love, kindness, and the third one in a minute that we're going to pack is social intelligence. Hello, how are you doing? So social intelligence, we're going to get to in a minute. Kindness. Kindness is that you're never too busy to do someone a favor. And we're not talking about stopping your work and you know, going over to the person and, you know, helping them for an hour. We're talking about things like holding the door open for somebody, offering to grab somebody a glass of water when you're getting a glass of water at a meeting. If you're doing a Timmy's run or a Starbucks run, that you bring something back. That's kindness. I remember there was times where I used to do family training, and so out the door we'd go, and sometimes we'd have a whole bunch of stuff that we were taking to a meeting or a training event or something, boxes, like crates, just to somebody to simply say, hey, you need help out the door with that. That's it. That's kindness. And, you know, I think we've missed this in society. The other day I was at the post office and I held the door open for a gentleman, and he said, thank you. You just made my day. And I was like, that made your day? I mean, I love that, and I'm so grateful for that. But just, I mean, stop and think about that. The fact that somebody held the door open for you made your day. Obviously, we don't do that enough in our society. Obviously, we're missing that piece. When we practice kindness in our lives, in our workplace, in our families, in our communities, we actually live longer. Kindness is correlated with longevity in life. That's a pretty cool thing to think about. So again, it's being helpful. So love, kindness. The third one is social intelligence. Again, we're unpacking the virtues around humanity. So social intelligence, I have preached on this one for weeks and weeks and weeks. Emotional intelligence and social intelligence. Emotional intelligence is recognizing and managing your own emotions, right? We need to know when we're angry, frustrated, hurt, annoyed, bitter, resentful. We need to know that, and we need to manage that. And I always use the negative emotions. We also need to know when we're happy, glad, joyful, grateful. We miss those, and we need to recognize those and pause and honor those a little bit more too. So I just got to check comments here. Just making sure I didn't miss anything. Okay. So social intelligence is we are aware of the motives and feelings of ourselves and others. Have you ever walked into a room and you're like, uh-oh, something's going on here? That's that kind of inner intuition piece that's social intelligence. You're conscious of what's going on. You're aware. You can also shift your mood and the way you're interacting depending on the people in the room or depending on the situation. You're going to act very differently in a conversation that you're happening at lunchtime than maybe in the middle of the boardroom. Perhaps you're going to manage. You're not going to put on a mask or be a different person, but you're going to manage that a little bit differently. At lunchtime, your humor trait might come on. You might be telling some jokes, and you might be having a laugh with your coworkers. During the meeting, this is bad for me because I like to blurt out things and I like to make sarcastic or funny little comments in the middle of a meeting. I have to manage that because that upsets the pace of the meeting. Sometimes the tone isn't right for the meeting. And so you have to, manage how many of those cute little comments are you going to put in, and how many of them are you just going to zip your lip and let slide. That's managing what's going on. Last week, I was presenting at a conference for individuals with disabilities. After I did my session, tons of them came up and gave hugs to me. I wouldn't normally do that after a conference because many people aren't comfortable with hugs. That's that social awareness. I know that this group is totally okay with hugs. This group, not so much. And so I have to be aware of that. If I'm not recognizing that, that's not being socially intelligent. So here's a couple things that I want you to think about. When you're practicing the trait of social intelligence, one of the things that you might want to do is just in your head, when you're in a situation, start to name feelings, right? Start to, I don't know what just happened there. Hope we're still alive. Start to name feelings. So when you're in a conversation with somebody, like, go, ooh, they're a little bit angry. Or perhaps when you're watching two people interact, you might go, I see some tension there. You might, be in a conversation with your boss, and you might sort of notice that they're feeling defensive. Just name those in your head. That's going to help you start to be more socially aware, is starting to get a sense of other people's feelings. At the flip side, do your own as well. Now, one of the really important ways to do this is start to do a lot of inner work. Mastering confidence gives you a system to help you start becoming more emotionally and socially intelligent. If you have not read that, I really encourage you to pop over and grab that. Start to go through that, where you start to slow down a little bit more, pause and step back in the middle of situations in your mind after you've had a meeting or a tense argument or discussion with somebody. Maybe in the morning before you start your workday, at the end of your day, where you start to pause more often, do a little bit more of that reflection, that pondering piece about what happened there, what was going on, what was I thinking, what was I feeling, what was going on in my body. Do a little bit of shifting the way you're seeing things, shifting your attitude towards other people. We were talking here earlier about compassion. Yeah, something might be going on in their life. That's that shifting that perspective place, pivoting the way you're seeing things, and then getting back into action, proceeding in a new sort of manner, a new way that's more emotionally and socially intelligent. Social intelligence, when you develop this trait, it is correlated with lower aggression. So if you're one of those people who has your temperature rise all the time and you get frustrated easily and mad and angry, social intelligence might be one that you want to look at developing. Everybody's not out to get you. And yet that's what we often think is like, oh my God, they're just here to make me mad. No, they're probably caught up in their own world. And the more you practice social intelligence, start to recognize that, you'll start to see things differently. So again, unpacking the virtues of humanity, which are associated with the VIA signature strengths test, which the link is up in the notes, I'm pretty sure. If you haven't done it, I really encourage you to go do it. These are the things that help you be a better leader and develop your character as a leader. Character is critically important. Where we struggle often is we've learned what we're supposed to do, but we've never learned who we're supposed to be as a leader. Many of our mentors are men or women who've learned from men. And there's nothing wrong with men and the way they lead, but it's not the same way we lead. And the same way that men led 20, 30 years ago doesn't fit in the world of today. We need to find a new way of leading that honors both who we are gender-wise as well as individual-wise. And that's really about developing your character. So these three character traits are the three that are going to help you more with that humanity piece, those interpersonal relationships. If you're struggling in your organization with relationships, these are three that you really might want to look at. The other thing about character traits is sometimes we can overuse them. So my top character trait is appreciation of beauty and excellence. And so when I focus on the excellence piece of that, it means that I want to do good work. I was in a conversation with a bunch of people the other day, asking them questions. They didn't get them all right. And I said, wow, you guys didn't even get 80%. That's not good enough in my world. Whoa, that's not okay. Maybe it's okay in their world. My world is that high level of excellence. But when we overuse our character strength, it can become a problem. So when I overuse that appreciation of beauty and excellence, it becomes perfectionism. And perfectionism is not what we're looking for in life, at work, or anywhere. We're looking for good enough, better than good enough, but we're not looking for perfect. And we have to remember that when we're in conversations, when we're having expectations of ourselves and others. So when I overuse that character strength, it becomes a problem. So we have to make sure that we learn to use them, but not overuse them. So let me tell you what happens when you over or underuse these 3 character strengths of humanity. So love. When you overuse love, you become emotionally promiscuous. Not good, right? Hugging everybody in the room. Maybe that's not so good. When you underuse love, you become emotionally isolated. Never heard the term ice queen? Yeah, that's emotionally isolated. There's no feeling, no connection, this is sort of the wall that she puts up, and she's like, do this, do that, don't talk to me in the meantime, right? That's that emotional isolation. So when you learn to cultivate the character trait of love in a balanced way, you have genuine and reciprocal warmth. That's important, right? If you have any questions, guys, pop them in now. I'm just making sure that, hey, Sue, good to see you joined. Making sure I didn't miss anybody else. Ernie waved. Tina says hello. Says hello. Okay, didn't miss anything. Okay, kindness. When you overuse kindness, it becomes intrusiveness. Did anybody do that? Can I get this for you? People are like, back off, right? So that's overuse of kindness. Underuse of kindness is indifference. You don't even notice when somebody's got a tear in their eye. You don't notice that they've got their hands full of things and they're fumbling and dropped something at the door. That's that indifference. So balanced kindness is doing for others. Third one is social intelligence. When you overuse social intelligence, you are over-analyzing. Why did they do that? What do you think? What was going on over there? Why did they do that? Why did I do this? What should I do instead? It's like, whoa, that's not helpful, right? We need to analyze a little bit, but not over-analyze. And when we underuse social intelligence, we're clueless. How many people have you seen that have been clueless about what's going on in another relationship in the room? They just don't even know because they're not being aware of other people's emotions and feelings. That's underusing social intelligence. So when you are balanced with using social intelligence, you're turned in, you're savvy. All right, so those are the 3 character traits. Can you say them with me? These are the 3 character traits associated with the virtue of humanity. First one is love. Second one is kindness. And the third one is social intelligence. Those are the 3 that are really important when you look at building your interpersonal skills with other people, which is so incredibly important in leadership. Social intelligence is one of there's 7 of the 24 character traits that are associated with achievement, excellence, and happiness, and social intelligence is one of them. If you aren't able to tune into other people, tune into what's going on around you, you're oblivious. You are clueless. And that's not helpful in an organization. You're going to have this whole side of the team fall apart, and you're not even going to be aware. And all of a sudden, somebody's going to tell you, you're like, what? What's going on here? And they're like, you didn't see that coming? That's social intelligence. When you see that coming and you jump in and you stop it before it gets to that point, that's what you need to work on. So, reminder, go to your virtues in action if you haven't done that. Identify your top strengths. Use those top strengths more, but make sure you're using them in balance. Then look at the other character traits that maybe are your top ones that you want to build up or hone, because when you do, you're going to become a stronger leader who leads with that strength of character. If you need help doing this, if you want to develop a little bit of a plan to keep you going for the next 3 weeks, the next few weeks, however many weeks you want, make sure you register for tomorrow's webinar. The link is up in the notes. Character Development Planning 101, 2 hours, 11 till 1 tomorrow Mountain Time. If you can't make it, it's going to be recorded. You can always catch the replay after. But we're just going to, in a couple hours, look at your character strengths. Look at those 7 key ones and help you kind of narrow it down to the few that you want to work on. Develop some strategies that you're going to do, doable things that you can actually do, like holding the door open for somebody. That's simple to this. Raise that awareness around kindness. You know what? I'm going to make sure that I hold the door open, whether it's the elevator door, the door at the post office, whatever. Hold the door open for somebody just more often. That's simple. We can add that. Social intelligence. You know what? I need to start paying attention to other people's emotions more. I'm going to do this, this, and this. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. If you're not intentional about this, it's just a good idea. Just simply a good idea. Good ideas don't go anywhere. They get dropped, and before you know it, you're back in that cycle at work of everything driving you crazy, feeling that you're back in survival mode. You need to do this intentionally. You need to be clear about it. Do you guys have any questions for me? I'm making sure I don't see any questions here. If you have any questions for me, either watching now on the replay, pop them in. This is really important work. This is, again, the piece that we've missed again and again and again. And this is why you know what to do. You've been told what you do. You're skilled at doing it. And sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes you still feel like crap. You still feel annoyed. You still feel like you're not doing it right. It's because you haven't become strong in your character. We all have different character strengths. Every one of us is different. When we, dice these 24 character strengths up, yours will be different than mine. We may have one or two the same, but most of us will not have the character strengths all lined up in the same order. Add that to your values, your beliefs, your morals, the hill that you're going to die on, your personality. We're all different and unique. And when we step into leadership and we forget that and we try to mold ourselves into this box that we've been told is the right way to do leadership, we just feel like crap. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you it. It doesn't feel good. It's when you get out of that box, be yourself more, lead with your strengths of character, lead with your strengths in general, be yourself, that you're going to have the most impact, that you are going to feel good, that people are going to respect you and want to work hard for you. This is what creates that level of engagement in organizations is when somebody's like, I feel like you genuinely care about me. You are smart. You have the vision. I see where you want to go and I want to go there too. You have respect for me as an individual. You're here to develop me as an individual. It's when our teams feel that from us, not indifferent, not ice, not cold, not blocked off. It's when we have this level of connection with people that we create these teams that really can go places, that really move the needle forward. And that's what we need to continue to work on, is developing our character, looking at, who am I really at my core and who am I becoming? What's this person that I am today? And letting that shine. I mean, who you are is wonderful and beautiful, and you have so many gifts and talents. When you can start letting that shine and using those more often, and saying, and who am I becoming? What's the direction I'm going? Who's the person I'm growing into? What's the difference I want to have now? And what's the difference I want to have in 6 months from now, 6 years from now, 16 years from now? When we do both of those together, at the same time as developing our skills and our competencies and making sure we know what we're doing as a leader. I mean, you got to know your stuff too. When I talk about developing your confidence, the first thing I tell you is you got to be competent. You have to have the skills. There's no doubt about it. But skills alone will not make you a good leader. Skills alone will not bring you satisfaction and fulfillment. Skills alone will not create the team that you want. Uh-oh. I don't know, guys, if I'm still live or not. Feel like something just happened. All right, so I'm going to end this video before I lose you completely. All right, so make sure you go sign in, register for the webinar tomorrow, Character Development Planning 101, and I will see you next week for the next virtues, and I will see you tomorrow in the webinar. Remember, when you do this work, when you really create that that connection with who you are and who you're becoming, you'll start to love your job more. You'll start to make a difference. And my dear, you're going to move from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and your life. Go make the rest of your day awesome, my dear.